All right, folks, welcome back. As always, a special thanks to Bleacher Report for having me. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, and very excited to have not only Rams football back, but just the NFL in general. The Rams won 13-12 in a meaningless preseason game to start off the year, but it doesn't really matter because in this case, there's a lot of fun that came out of this game. At the end of the day, football, any sport, it's always important to remember it is for entertainment purposes. You spend money on tickets, you spend money on packages to watch the games, you spend money on memorabilia. A lot of this is entertainment. And I would say this was pretty entertaining, all things considered. So we're going to dive into the good, the bad, the ugly. There was a lot of good from this game, a very, very interesting preseason game. I was really impressed with quite a few players on the Rams, and I will give them name. I want to say I find it really funny the way this game went down. Really kind of had a feeling after Bennett threw that fourth interception, the way the defense had played the entire game, I felt like he was going to get a chance to do the most hilarious thing, go down the field and eventually win the game, which is what he did. So we're going to touch on that. We're going to touch on pretty much the whole game and everything. Starting off with it, though, I want to really, really bring home that preseason, the good and the bad, it's really more, you're going to take it away from a, isolated perspective. And what I mean by that is sometimes guys really stand out of the crowd, if you will. And those are the guys I want to really hit on. Right away, Jordan Whittington would be my player of the game. He was the best player on the field, regardless of team. I really think Jordan Whittington showed you he's not just a guy. He has a chance to really make an impact for this team throughout the regular season. So I'm excited for Jordan Whittington's emergence. When he was drafted, I felt like he could be a gem that the Rams found. I've said multiple times going back to April, if there's anybody in this draft that's even close to Puka Nacua, it is Jordan Whittington. And before he was drafted, I actually really liked his fit with the Rams. I came out and actually did a video on that. So what I wanted to say is that Jordan Whittington proved today that, look, I understand it was preseason. I understand the starters weren't out there, but Jordan Whittington proved today that he can play. Okay, he can play. He looks like a veteran amongst everybody else. He's somebody that caught everything thrown his way. He's somebody that broke tackles, made plays after the catch, and really just displayed different things that would make you believe he is a Rams receiver. When you talk about archetypes, Jordan Whittington is 100% what the Rams look for in a wide receiver. Very similar build to a Puka Nacua. So I really was happy to see him get going. I thought Sam Wiglusz, who I hope is okay, he got hit really hard, the UDFA out of Ohio, was down for quite a while. I hope he checks out okay. But Sam Wiglusz, he looked really good too. Had 8 targets thrown his way. Whittington had 9, caught 6 of them for 74 yards. Wiglusz kept getting open. I loved seeing that. I loved his separation he was creating. This is somebody that has a legitimate shot to make this practice squad. I'm not saying he will because Drake Stoops is also there and Xavier Smith in case they don't keep 7 receivers. He looked good. But Wiglusz, his ability to separate was something that I really noticed right away. I thought Drake Stoops did a nice job on that final drive. I thought you saw some really good things out of Xavier Smith. This is somebody that didn't really get a lot of opportunities in the preseason last year to actually catch the ball, more so just be a returner. I thought you saw some really good things out of him. Even with the ball not in his hand, he was getting open. I was really impressed with him. He's had a great camp. Everyone that I've talked to that has seen him in camp has said he's had a great camp. We'll see what ends up happening there. Tyler Johnson, a little disappointing, but only got 3 targets anyway. So, of course, not really much you can do there. Miller Forrestall had 3 catches on 3 targets for 20 yards and the game-winning touchdown. He blocked pretty well towards the end of the game. He didn't play the majority of the game, but towards the end of the game, I thought he did a nice job blocking. And then, of course, getting open for that final touchdown on the, essentially the, improvisational skills on full display with Stetson Bennett. So I wanted to say that first off, Whittington, player of the game. I want to start off with the offense. Then I wanted to talk about Stetson Bennett, who I thought showed you some decent things. But in reality, today wasn't acceptable. I'm glad he got his win. I'm glad he finished off on a high note. And now you just have to bounce back. You just have to show him, what you can do. This is his first time playing since like late August of last year. Took the entire season off, was dealing with a lot of different things. So I'm glad that he's back. I'm excited for this comeback. I am, and I hope he can. But here's the reality, and it's important to bring this up because, unfortunately, when you're in the business of, news and, analysis, you're not always going to be the good guy. And I'm okay being the bad guy in this sense. I understand Bennett has a cool story and we're rooting for him and he went through a lot. At the same time, this is a results business. So if Stetson Bennett is going to throw 4 interceptions in a game, by the way, all 4 interceptions were thrown from a clean pocket. At least 3 out of the 4, I would say, a wicked clean pocket. So no pressure in the face whatsoever. He threw 4 interceptions today, okay? In preseason, no starters, and probably the best offensive line play I have seen in the Rams preseason history. I've never seen a Rams offensive line in preseason look this freaking good. I was so impressed with the Rams offensive line, and we'll get to that. But Stetson Bennett, I need him to do more. I need to see more. He has 2 more opportunities, 2 more games upcoming. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to play at all. The important thing to remember is that it's okay to be critical of Stetson Bennett because whether you realize it or not, the first 2 games of the season, Stetson Bennett is the backup quarterback to Matthew Stafford right this second. Okay. So I do think there is a real conversation that needs to be had. I know he had a really nice game-winning drive, but there's a real conversation that needs to be had about the idea that, look, maybe the Rams might have to go out and get somebody to be the backup for those 2 games. And maybe you might have to cut Bennett, when Garoppolo comes back and put him on the practice squad. I think that's a real possibility that you might have to do that because this is dire. You need a backup. Matthew Stafford has gotten banged up plenty of times. Now, he stays out there injured. He does it all the time. But, he's going up against a team that roughed him up quite a bit in the playoffs in the Lions. So, look, Bennett struggling. I get it. I understand. Give him some time. All that. Unfortunately, because of the position the Rams have put themselves in by going after Jimmy Garoppolo, who could very well end up being a great backup quarterback, he's still suspended for the first 2 games of the season. They moved on from Carson Wentz, who will be ready for week 1, week 2, and every other week for the Chiefs, backing up Patrick Mahomes. But because the Rams chose Garoppolo over Wentz, that means those first 2 games, they will not have him. That could come into play. We hope it doesn't. But if we're talking real, Stetson Bennett is the next man up if Stafford were to go down. Knock on wood. Hopefully he doesn't do that. So that's the problem there. That is the problem. That's why I'm so hard on Bennett for today. I understand he hasn't played in a while. He didn't, take a bunch of sacks. So it's not like he held on to the ball forever. But in a way, he actually did hold on to the ball forever. And I think the offensive line was just that good. So I just got to be honest there when I talk about it. I want Bennett to succeed. I'm not rooting against him. I'm not trying to clown on him. But this is a results business. And again, the Rams play meaningful football next month. I mean, we're talking literally a month from now, the Rams are playing meaningful football. He's got to be ready to go as the backup. So we're going to see the next 2 games are going to be crucial. We'll see. I see in the comments section, Tannehill was mentioned. Tannehill's available. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think there's a chance Tannehill's a better backup than Garoppolo. So I would not be against that. But it is definitely a problem, and it's something I'm concerned about. And to wrap up the offense, and we'll go to the defense, and I'll spend time on the defense because defense played their tail off today. Great tackling, by the way. Great tackling today. Was really excited to see that. Boston Scott looked like a dog, okay? I like Boston Scott a lot. This is somebody that I've seen play for a while with the Philadelphia Eagles. They call him the Giants killer because every time he played the New York Giants, he'd destroy them. And this is a guy that's played plenty of reps against actual starting competition. So when he gets the start today against backups, yes, I expected him to do what he did, especially with the offensive line moving piles the way they were moving them. I was so impressed, and I hope he ends up being okay because he left the game. I don't know if he returned. I don't believe he did, but he's holding his lower back. That is rookie Beaux Limmer from Arkansas, the ultra athletic center, who I thought did a great job at combo blocking, getting the second level, and carving out some opportunities for Scott to make some guys miss. Scott is one of those simple one-cut backs. He sees things, he hits the hole, all of that. So Scott was great. Wasn't overly impressed with Zach Evans. Sorry, Bay Area Rams fan. Evans struggled today. If I'm going to be honest with you, 12 carries for 28 yards with an offensive line that was pretty darn good. Boston Scott had a 4.5 yards per carry average. He went for 15 on 15 carries, went for 68 yards. And I thought you just saw way more out of Scott. Now, of course, he's the veteran. Zach Evans also, if we're going to give Stetson Bennett 2 more games to figure it out, we got to give Zach Evans 2 more games. It was really interesting that Ronnie Rivers didn't play, which tells me that Ronnie Rivers should be considered a bona fide lock to make this roster. The fact he didn't play was jaw-dropping. It means that he's really done a nice job, clearly, and you know, they saw that. As far as the offensive line goes, the weakest link was A.J. Arcuri at left tackle, but I didn't think he did a poor job. I thought he was fine. Okay, really liked what I saw out of Zach Thomas. Really liked what I saw out of Beaux Limmer. I loved what I saw out of Warren McClendon Jr. at right tackle and Logan Bruss at right guard. Logan Bruss back at guard, like he played guard before in college before moving to tackle his last year. Bruss showed that he should make this team. He played very well. I don't even think we saw any of the guys that they just signed. I don't think we saw Caskey. I didn't see Lindstrom. I didn't see McDermott. So I don't know if they played or not. It's maybe late in the game they did and I missed them. But I really liked the offensive line today. I thought they were great, not only in the run game, but they gave every single opportunity imaginable for Stetson Bennett to deliver a strike to an open receiver. That's what I'll say there. So before we dive into the defense, just want to bring up the special teams. The most important thing, first off, the kick return. You're not going to get anything that they're trying to do during the regular season in preseason. They are going to do different things. Boston Scott and Xavier Smith returned kicks. Xavier Smith returned 2 and Boston Scott returned 1. Okay. They're going to have different trick plays and what have you throughout the year, trying to create explosives. They're not tipping their hand in preseason. So that's very vanilla. I wasn't expecting to see much with the new rules and everything in preseason. You don't want to show your hand. So I thought, totally fine. Josh Carty seems to be a good kicker for the Rams. I was very excited when they drafted him. He's the guy I handpicked that I wanted. He, of course, hit the game-winning extra point. He hit 2 of 2. He made a 39-yard field goal. Wasn't asked to go crazy with the length, although he can. He can go, 60 if he wants to. He's got the leg. He's got the accuracy. I think Josh Carty is going to be a really good kicker for the Rams, so I'm excited about him. Now let's move on to the defense, which I think the defense was outstanding today, okay? And if you don't believe me, let's look at the Cowboys stats, all right? Trey Lance threw 41 passes and only got to 188 passing yards with that, okay? They got to him multiple times, 3 sacks, plenty where they just missed getting him. Trey Lance's escapability was on full display. So, of course, you had to, mention that because, Trey Lance had 44 yards on 6 carries. The run game was non-existent. Davis, Dowdle, they could not get anything going on the ground. Okay, they pretty much abandoned the run game. So that was good stuff from the Rams to really force, their hand into putting the game into Trey Lance's hands. Now, they didn't, force any interceptions or anything like that. They did have a fumble that they forced. They were not able to get before it fell out of bounds. But, look at this. Cornerbacks were really on lock. Brooks led the whole thing with 49 yards on 2 receptions. Kelvin Harmon, nice to see him again. I remember when he was, one of those draft darlings coming out, only had 38 yards on 2 receptions. The reality is, I thought when you looked at the Rams defense today, they were really good. The thing that really stood out to me was the physicality on both sides of the football and the fact that they finished tackles. Okay. Neal got the forced fumble, as you can see there. Hummel was great. He had a great pass breakup. He was covering Luke Schoonmaker for the Dallas Cowboys, the tight end out of Michigan. He did a great job covering him. Jake Hummel has put together some great preseason film over the last couple years, so no surprise there. Loved what I saw out of Tyler Davis, the rookie out of Clemson. He, to me, if I was going to give my game ball to anyone on the defensive side, he's getting the game ball. Okay, he was everywhere. So was Desjuan Johnson. Was so impressed with Davis. And I can't stress it enough how important it is to find these guys in the draft the same year you're losing Aaron Donald to retirement. So hats off to Tyler Davis. Hats off to Desjuan Johnson. The Rams have a big 5 in that interior defensive line room, talking about Kobe Turner, obviously, Bobby Brown III, who I'm very high on, Braden Fisk. Then you had these two. You got Murchison, who I thought took some really good angles today to keep, Trey Lance bottled up. I was just so impressed with Tyler Davis. And I'm excited as hell because I was not overly high on that pick. I thought that they missed out on some guys. I really wanted Mekhi Wingo, for instance, out of LSU. But Tyler Davis is a baller. And the reason I want to bring him up, you probably saw him number 90. He was everywhere, but it wasn't just in the run game. It wasn't just in the pass. I mean, it was anything where you needed him to make a play. He's rushing the quarterback up the middle. He's, cutting off an angle where he's going sideline to sideline and making the play. I absolutely love, and that to me is a big thing because I also cover baseball, folks. And a thing that bothers me to no end is when someone hits, something off the bat, ground ball, and you see them jogging to first, right? I want to see them sprinting to first. I want to see effort. These are professional athletes. Well, the reason I bring that up is because with football, I want to see guys actually having a motor. I get you can't go crazy every single play. You got to keep yourself conditioned. You can't, overdo it because it's almost like a balancing act. If you go too crazy for one play, you could kind of hold yourself back. You only got so much gas in the tank. You're a human being. Understand that completely. But it's guys like Tyler Davis, Desjuan Johnson, as mentioned in the comment section, Zach Van Valkenburg, who had a sack in this one. Okay. Those guys, when they are constantly, and I mean constantly, every single play, chasing the quarterback, chasing the ball carrier, the motor runs hot. That gets noticed. Okay. Those guys are likely to make a roster when you're doing that. Now, unfortunately, there are too many guys in the mix. I do think Van Valkenburg is going to miss this roster, but I think he's putting himself in a really good position to be back on the practice squad. He has done a stellar job going back to last preseason. There are times where, yes, he will be overzealous. He'll give up his, edge. So he needs to set an edge. He'll give it up. He did that in this one. Trey Lance took off for a bunch of yards. That happens, okay? That's something you have to live with. That's why he's not starting, right? But Van Valkenburg showed you a lot of good things. You saw some great things, of course, out of Desjuan Johnson, who, again, I keep talking about Tyler Davis. Desjuan Johnson was also everywhere. And he's somebody who, okay, you got past the first line of defense. He chases down Trey Lance and makes a huge play, okay, from behind. He is a fast player, but not just the athleticism, not just the speed, acceleration. This is somebody that I look at, Desjuan Johnson. He's fast in the mind, okay? Things come quickly to him. This is a guy that I really liked for the Rams coming out of college, and I'm totally blanking on the college. I think it was Toledo. Could be wrong. It's either Toledo or Akron. I get those two confused. Don't know why. But Desjuan Johnson, Mr. Irrelevant, is relevant. He is going to be somebody that they lean on this year, in a rotation, and I'm excited for that. So Davis, hats off to him. Hats off to Desjuan Johnson. I thought Jason Taylor II played his best game I've seen as a Ram. Was great. Came up and made some really nice tackles. Jalen McCullough, I don't know if he'll make this team, but I thought he really showed. Thank you, Edwin. Toledo. See, I get those two confused. Toledo and Akron. No idea why. Similar color scheme. I don't know. But, anyway, McCullough did a really nice job, I thought, coming up and playing the run. Keir Thomas, you still see the motor on full display. The bottom line is, we talk about it all the time, guys. If you've been following my stuff, then you know. The Rams are all about the we not me culture. They're all about this, for instance, if you want to play wide receiver on the Rams, you have to be able to block, right? Well, let's be honest. If you're not a high motor player, you're not going to be on this 53-man roster. I'm not saying that in the past they have this mentality, but it is very evident that this team prefers physical ball players. And we saw that today. Guys were definitely physical. Was really, really impressed with Nick Hampton. I liked Olakunle Fadukasi and his motor that was on display, like I mentioned already, with Murchison's angle taking. Trey Tomlinson had a play where he got flagged for unnecessary roughness. I have no idea what he's supposed to do in that situation. You have the stiff arm. I really have no idea what he's supposed to do. But they penalized him. I thought Cam McCutcheon bounced back, gave up a big play early on where I was bummed because I thought McCutcheon could have turned around, played the ball, and maybe had an interception. But I thought he bounced back in a good way, had a good rest of the game. Cam Kinchins, he is fun to watch. He's having some great practices. Sean McVay, talked about him by name. Sean Jolly had a great pass breakup. Just a lot to like today, folks. A lot to like. I understand the Bennett thing. I get it. It's disappointing. I don't put the entire game on Bennett because, by the way, he won the game. He has to be better. Zach Evans has to be better. There are guys that have to be better in their next games. I get that. But for a 13-12 ball game, there is a lot of good to take away from this one. The Rams have a lot of good. This is going to be a really tough roster cut. I think there are guys that are going to make this team that maybe you and I aren't expecting. Okay. And that's what happens when you have a bunch of guys that are all going all in. Look, they didn't bring back Austin Trammell. Okay. They let guys like Brandon Powell leave in the past because they're so good at finding other guys in UDFA, right? Wigless looks good. Stoops looks good. Lapp had the touchdown. I mean, Lapp was wide open and Stetson missed him. Okay. So a lot of good. It was a little surprising to see Davis Allen out there. There were some other guys, Russ Yeast, I was surprised to see out there, but regardless, a lot of fun to watch today for a preseason game that only had 25 total points. I thought you saw some really good things all over the board. And I think if you're a Rams fan, you got to feel excited. I mean, Rams football's back. You got to see those awesome uniforms. Jordan Whittington looks like he has a chance to really contribute this year. Boston Scott, I think, will be able to contribute this year. Yeah, you didn't get a chance to see Jared Verse. You didn't get a chance to see Braden Fisk. You didn't get a chance to see Blake Corum. There's a reason for that. And by the way, I agree with the Rams in not going over the top and, wanting to play all your rookies. I agree with this method. They've been doing it every single year Sean McVay has been the head coach, okay? There is a reason for it, and I think it's the smart idea. I would rather the team start off little lackadaisical, little, what's the word I'm looking for? Rusty, because they didn't play in preseason, but have them all healthy instead of having them ready to go, but you're without 3 starters because they got hurt in a meaningless preseason game. Okay, that's just me. So I agree with the way the Rams go about things. In conclusion, game balls go to Jordan Whittington. I would say a game ball has to go to Tyler Davis, and I'll give a game ball to to Chris Shula. Okay. I thought his defense was, you see it. You definitely see just a kind of a preview, right? This was like a trailer of what the offense and the defense is going to look like, more so the defense. And I really felt like we saw some really good things out of the defense that will translate when you have the starters on the field. When we're talking about Ernest Jones and we're talking about Braden Fisk and Bobby Brown and Kobe Turner and Trey White and Darius Williams and the safeties, Cam Curl and Quentin Lake and John Johnson. List goes on. I really think that mentality is going to be a big deal. Yes, game ball should go to Cardi. I agree as well. So we'll throw Cardi a game ball as well. Final score, Rams 13, Cowboys 12. That is the end of this preseason show. Appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. You can go and follow me on all social media at JK Bogan. I'm also on YouTube in case you didn't know that. It's just Jake Ellenbogen. You can find the channel. I go live there, after every game as well. So be sure to check that out. But I will see you guys in the next one. Once again, thank you so much to Bleacher Report for having me. And you guys take care. Later, folks.